This morning we have a gospel reading that is extra lengthy. And so I'm going to ask you to pause and read from John chapter 9, verses 1 to 41. However, for starters, I will read briefly from the text. John 9, beginning at verse 1. As Jesus went along, he saw a man blind from birth. His disciples asked him, Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Neither this man nor his parents sinned, said Jesus, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. As long as it is day, we must do the works of him who sent me. Night is coming, when no one can work. While I am in the world, I am the light of the world. After saying this, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Go, he told him, wash in the pool of Siloam. This word means sent. So the man went and washed and came home seeing. His neighbors and those who had formerly seen him begging asked, Isn't this the man who used to sit and beg? Some claimed that he was. Others said, No, he only looks like him. But he himself insisted, I am the man. How then were your eyes opened? They asked. He replied, The man they call Jesus made some mud and put it on my eyes. He told me to go to Siloam and wash. So I went and washed, and then I could see. Here ends the reading. Today we have a longer than usual reading. John 9, 1 to 41. Time would most certainly not allow for a fulsome exploration of this reading given our short reflection. However, there are some salient points that we would do well to observe. In today's gospel reading, Jesus sees a man blind from birth. His disciples ask him if the man's blindness was due to the man's sin or his parents' sin. Jesus spat on the ground and made mud, which he then applied to the man's eyes before sending him to wash in the pool of Siloam. The man went and washed and returned healed. Some interesting questions ensued. It should be noted that since this healing was done on the Sabbath, it became an opportunity for Jesus to be condemned by the religious elite. Not only did he do the healing, he violated the rule of not kneading on the Sabbath when he made the clay. Was Jesus making a point? After all, the man was blind from birth and surely could have waited until after the Sabbath. Let us do a quick peep at some of the questions asked in this gospel account. Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind? Is this not the man who used to sit and beg? Then how were your eyes opened? How can a man who is a sinner perform such signs? Is this your son who you say was born blind? How then does he now see? You were born entirely in sins, and are you trying to teach us? Surely we are not blind, are we? Jesus said to them, If you were blind, you would not have sinned. But now that you say, We see, your sin remains. Interestingly, in Matthew 9:29, Jesus healed two blind men by touching them. Then he touched their eyes and said, According to your faith, let it be done to you. And their sight was restored. In Matthew 20:34, Jesus again healed two blind men by touching them. Jesus had compassion on them and touched their eyes. Immediately they received their sight and followed him. In Mark 10, Jesus healed a blind man, not by touching him, but in the affirmation of his faith. Go, said Jesus, your faith has healed you. Immediately he received his sight and followed Jesus along the road. In Mark 8, Jesus heals another blind man, not by touching, and not by referencing faith, and not by the use of mud, but simply by spitting. And in our gospel reading for today, John 9, he spit on the ground, made some mud with the saliva, and put it on the man's eyes. Now, I heard of a story some time ago about how there was a conference regarding different types of healing. The blind men came together and were each given a chance to share their testimony. In addition, their friends and family members in attendance supported their various presentations. Some maintained that they were spittites because the healing was done with spittle. Some maintained that they were muddites because they knew of healing with mud. Others held a position of being touchites since their healing was done with touch. But let us hear from other expressions of church which prevail even today as to why they are non-spittites, non-muddites, and non-touchites. So, this is a meeting that was held several centuries later, after all these different persons broke up and formed their own churches. And so one person came forward and said, well, you all can see why it makes sense to be a non-spittite. Jesus did healings without using spit. And look at what is happening now with coronavirus. I challenge you to tell me if you would allow your pastor or even Jesus to spit in your face right now. Then second person came forward. Certainly you do not need me to prove to you why it makes sense to be a non-mudite. Which of you would want your pastor or Jesus to make mud and put it in your eyes? You should not even have anyone putting their hand close or in your face at this time, much less your eyes. Third person came forward. Well, in this day of social distancing, I do not need to convince you of the importance of being a non-touchite. All the different churches had a valid argument in support of the work of healing and for their various emphases. Sadly, they did not come together to see how they could benefit from the valuable perspective brought by each one. Hopefully, all of you who are hearing this now will remember to avoid spitting in public, avoid other people's saliva, avoid handling dirt at this time, and avoid touching and contact with others as we practice social distancing. Social distancing, interestingly, has had negative associations in the past. This is where people are social outcasts as a result of prejudice and hatred. However, for the first time, social distancing may be affirmed with positive regards when it is in the interest of everyone. The blind man in our story today represents many people in 2020. That person who is stigmatized because everybody knows your limitations and your socioeconomic circumstances. And so the question continues, is this not the man who used to sit and beg? Then how were your eyes opened? That person whose HIV status is known by many in the community, that person about whom people spread the rumor that she had an abortion, and people ask questions to keep you in the place where they believe you should still remain. Then no him them said it have AIDS. Then no she did dash her belly. Then no fear her mother when she was 12 years old, give birth to her. Then no she did have TB. And now, if you cough or sneeze, you might hear that you have coronavirus. If you live in a community or belong to a family that has been quarantined, you may find some people treating you with suspicion. If you are used to looking down on others because of their misfortune, you may find yourself on the other side now, experiencing being shunned, scorned, bullied, shamed, despised, hurt. May we at this time of COVID-19 concerns seek to become more loving, more caring, more patient, more appreciative, and more human. I close with a little story about the two oysters in conversation. The pearl. Said one oyster to a neighboring oyster, I have a very great pain within me. It is heavy and round, and I am in distress. And the other oyster replied with haughty complacence, Praise be to the heavens and to the sea. I have no pain within me. I am well within and without. At that moment, a crab was passing by and heard the two oysters. And he said to the one who was well and whole, both within and without, Yes, you are well and whole, but the pain that your neighbor bears is a pearl of exceeding beauty. May we even on this day continue to remember that the Lord is our shepherd. God bless and keep you all. Amen.